In this video of Casually Explained, we'll be focusing on the future of renewable energy, in particular wind power. Yeah, it's why wind power is not the solution. We will be discussing how wind turbines work, issues with onshore and offshore wind farms, as well as key barriers. So, how exactly do wind turbines work? Well, wind turbines capture the kinetic energy of the wind to generate electricity, which turns the propeller-like blades of a turbine around a rotor, which spins a generator and thus creating electricity. However, dozens, even hundreds of turbines are necessary to power a city's large grid. When it comes to supply and demand, wind farms don't cut it. They must be able to produce enough energy at a city's peak and trough of energy use. Although efficiency has increased, it still stays at a staggering 30% efficiency, which basically is losing energy. Next, we'll talk about the issue of where to put turbines. We have two options, offshore and onshore. As for offshore, it will require infrastructure we have yet to uncover. Although there are many researchers working on developing a reliable offshore turbine, none have been successful enough to mass produce. Marine life will be disruptive, whether it is the turbines themselves or the constant presence of human interaction. Public opposition is also important because most likely the turbines will be close to shore, thus getting in the way of tourists and residents. Most people go to the beach to see the endless waves, but things will change if the wind farms are implemented in busy areas. Next, we'll talk about the more commonly used form of wind farms, onshore. Currently, there are several models being used for wind turbines, such as the vertical and horizontal axis. With these turbines, specific criteria must be met in order for them to function properly, which includes direction of wind and velocity. Models must be versatile or put into a location where a majority of wind received will produce an efficient amount of energy. As for the aesthetics of the area, it is important to keep nature intact. Adding turbines in a plain or in a forest will change the view and the overall feel of the area. Locations that produce the most wind, aka high altitudes, where wind is less likely to be disruptive, are hard to obtain. Placing turbines on mountainsides or as tall as possible becomes a challenge to both cost and availability. Although where to place these giant wind farms has posed as the primary issue, we must also talk about key barriers that the reality of wind power faces in general. First and foremost, infrastructure. Next is storage of energy, and lastly, production of wind. This has been a key issue for quite some time, especially with other forms of renewable energy infrastructure. Basically, we don't have enough space that we are willing to provide, as well as materials to build thousands of wind farms. The areas that are best suited are not practical because they are definitely too far and too extreme to get to. Wind turbines operate at a low efficiency, so many more are needed to produce energy necessary to power large grids. Next is obvious, well in the sense that it is needed to operate, or else energy cannot be produced. Wind. Wind changes velocities and is intermittent, which means it doesn't work consistently. The regular behavior of wind makes it difficult to predict and, create practical turbines that can handle all situations. In order to see a future in relying solely on wind power requires improvements on wind turbines to generate more energy to large power grids. Next is storage. We lack battery technology and storage. To be blunt, if wind turbines stopped working, then no power would be produced and there wouldn't be backup energy sources. So we must be able to create a storage facility that can provide electricity, especially during a blackout. Lastly is political opposition. Not all politicians have been excited to support ideas and interests of the Green Party, whose initial focus is on solving environmental issues. Whether it is about money or safety of wind turbines, politicians have made it clear where they stand on the issue, and do their best to influence the future of renewable energy. Politicians do not want to provide a budget to fund the expanding infrastructure and research. Several states in the South, with interest in fossil fuel industries, are pushing for anti-wind bills. Most have made public statements calling to attention the safety of wind turbines, causing public distrust and disinterest in the renewable energy source. Of many critics of wind power, one of the largest is President Donald Trump. He stated at the National Republican Congressional Committee that the vibrations of wind turbines may cause cancer and that adding wind farms to the area will decrease market value of the surrounding area. He plans on rebuilding the U.S. coal industry and does not want green energy to stand in his way.